of some kind of boycott over what the US says is genocide against Chinese Uyghurs in the west of this country. Robin Brandt, BBC News, Shanghai.
Well, I'm joined now by Leta Fincher, author of Betraying Big Brother, the Feminist Awakening in China. Thank you so much for being with us here live from New York. Your reaction, first of all, to these latest developments?
Well, I think pretty much everybody agrees that this statement supposedly coming from Peng Shuai that was tweeted by CGTN, Chinese state television, saying that she's fine is a fake. And it really just makes one worry even more about where she is and why she isn't being allowed to appear.
What do you think is the most likely scenario of where she is currently?
I obviously have no idea, but I wouldn't be surprised if she were being interrogated by Chinese state security agents and being held somewhere. Perhaps she is being held under house arrest, but it's pretty clear. This is a long-term pattern from the Chinese government that troublemakers are made to disappear, and then perhaps later on we'll actually see her on TV forced to give some kind of statement, but I really don't know what's going to happen.
You touched on it just there. How does this fit in with the authorities' response to those people who are critics and also the wider MeToo movement that does exist in China?
Yes, well, I've written about China's feminist and Me Too movement in my book, Betraying Big Brother, The Feminist Awakening in China. And I think that it's this case is really an indication of just much broader awareness among young women in China across the board about the need to stand up and speak out about whether or not they've been the victim of sexual abuse or the victim of gender discrimination. There's much greater awareness, especially among college-educated women in China. And I think that Peng Shuai herself may have been influenced by that change on the ground and finally wanted to tell her story. And now we don't know if we'll ever see her again. I certainly hope that the Chinese authorities will allow her to speak out and be free.
A final twin thought then, would it be fair to say that most people in China will be unaware of this story? And in terms of the international community, any sort of pressure, there is the Winter Olympics coming up, but do you see any realistic traction in pressure that might work and might be effective?
Yes, absolutely. So what is really interesting is that the Women's Tennis Association has made a couple of very strong statements demanding that the Chinese government allow us to hear from Peng Shuai herself and investigate her allegations of sexual abuse at the highest levels of China's Communist Party. This is very unusual because until now the Chinese government has successfully, effectively bought silence from, for example, the National Basketball Association, or in the last couple of years, was reluctant to criticize the government. But there's a lot of pressure, I believe, on the Chinese government. I think that the Chinese authorities were unexpected at the outcry. And the fact that so many tennis stars are speaking out in support of Peng Shuai as well, I think that really has some kind of effect.
Well, Leta Fincher, thank you so much for being with us live from New York. Thanks for being on the show.